Thank you, Chairman. If I am correct, only 10 African countries have signed up to economic partnership agreements. What is the Commission's view on why so many other countries are resisting? And isn't it the case, in fact, that the type of demands being made by the European Union about busting open the public procurement and the services and investment policies, etc., opening them up to European corporations, that the baleful results of that are so daunting for many of the countries that they will not conclude these agreements? Because the nature of what results is an asymmetrical relationship between small local producers on the one hand in these countries and of course the giants from Europe who seek to exploit the situation. Now, can I ask the Commission if they have done any real studies on the effects of these type of agreements and what comes with them on Africa, say over the past 20 or 30 years? And reading from a briefing note that over that time in Senegal, for example, as a result of policies like this and tariff cuts in particular, 1/3 of manufacturing jobs have disappeared. In Côte d'Ivoire, chemical, textiles, footwear and automobile sectors have been crushed. And similarly, in other countries, large-scale unemployment has resulted. And lastly, Chairman, what does the Commission say to the fact that after 30 years of this type of policy, structural adjustment funds and all the rest of it, that poverty levels have not changed in sub-Saharan Africa? The poverty levels have remained, the numbers of poverty struck people have increased, and that was before the most recent financial crash and food crisis, which of course has enormously exacerbated that situation. I think that it behoves the Commission to give us, the concrete facts of these situations, rather than an implied argument that these type of agreements are an unqualified blessing for the poor people of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief because I don't want to keep Joao waiting. But I think the questions were extremely interesting, and I would say that the final question that was put, I put it myself. Why is it that I would say certain recipes didn't work? But I would a bit take issue when you are trying to say 30 years of this policy. I mean, frankly, EPA has nothing to do with, perhaps was under the caption there, the IMF sort of policies. I also would like to clarify that at the moment, if we talk about investment and these areas which are more problematic, I admit, there we are just going for rendezvous clauses. The interim EPAs that we are envisaging, this is where I'm saying, we are trying to get at the pace of the countries. I am sorry I cannot really go into the detail, because I think that these questions, and also I would say the criticism that was levelled through the questions, would require a very detailed answer. I can only say that in some cases, you mentioned Senegal, and Senegal comes to my mind together with Mauritius. Why? Because we had two countries that were starting from the very same base. Now, the corruption levels are very different, and I would say that we can have a more detailed exchange. There were Mauritian businessmen that had very good plans to go to Senegal, because, behind there is all the cotton close to Senegal. But, I mean, the corruption was just so stifling. So in some cases, the reasons for, I would say, poverty are extremely complex. But I would tend to be very strict on the distinction between what we are trying to do at the moment, and in fact we have sustainable impact assessments that were run. We even are running constantly with our partners for our interim agreements what we call general equilibrium models. We put the assumptions there and we try to see what's the impact. So, I mean, we are trying not to have people buy a pig in a poke, because that is the worst recipe. Then you don't know how to, I mean, you don't have any ownership for that. I mean, that style may belong to others, but definitely not to us. I will keep it to this, but I think that the question really would deserve a much more detailed answer.